start soon. Nothing happened for the moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Should we wait for a while, or do we start already? What do you prefer? To wait for a minute, two?
Yeah, we could wait. I mean, it is up to you. I don't know who is supposed to come and who's yet here. I do not have the the overview.
Yeah, I see Lucas is here, Thomas is here, and Joanna tried to connect herself.
She was there, and
yeah, cool. They're using the setting in the classroom. Yeah, perfect. At least someone is there. Katarina is back. Okay, our usual sign. Okay. I'm welcome. Yeah, there's Lukas from Institute of Philosophy, a PhD student. So, well, welcome also you. And I guess we can start. Should I introduce you again? I guess because there are new people here. Maybe shortly. Welcome all to this wonderful event. I really hope that all what is related to the technique and the software settings will run smoothly. Soyez bienvenue. Welcome. I'm welcoming Swantje Martach. She's coming from Berlin. She's actually at this research stay at the Institute of Aesthetics and Culture. She studied previously languages. Recently, she defended her thesis and ended her PhD studies at the Autonomous University of Barcelona. Yesterday, she were talking about fashion and fashioning. Today is talk or lecture or workshop because we need to make the slash between. Is dedicated to the artist Scherabon. You also saw him previously on a screen while testing the settings. I guess this will be really interesting. So let's start, if possible. Lisa, hi.
Yeah, hi, Lisa. Cool that you're here. Yeah, thank you, Adrian, for this introduction. I hope you all can hear me. Yes, I really hope that this is going to be less a lecture, less a monologue, but really a workshop. So I would really be happy to see you all getting involved and contributing, thinking, questioning, asking, so that we can create something interesting together. But first of all, let me try to share my screen and introduce you to what this is going to be all about. Do you see something?
Yes, we do.
Okay, good. So I think I'm going to do the same as yesterday. I will not really go into the presenting mode, but stay in this overview so that I can also see you a little and see if you're still there.
Yeah, perfectly fine for us, I guess.
Okay, good. So the artist that that we are not going to really discuss today, but that we are really going to meet today in person, and we'll have the question, the opportunity to pose question to today. He's called, his name is Herwig Scherabon, and he is German, just like me. Or I'm not sure if he's Austrian or German, but he's German speaking. Let us keep it as that. And this is going to be not a pretty conventional event. So we are really trying to create something a bit innovative and a bit new here. And this is this is how my plan, at least, is how it should or how I'm hoping it will be like. So first, I'm going to introduce who Scherabon is and what he does, what he did recently, and put him a bit into a context. And then I will introduce to you or get you in touch with the precise task that I would like us today to not precisely solve, but to confront, let us say. And afterwards, I have planned originally a time span for about half an hour, but we will see how long in the end we still are going to have. I would be really happy if we could manage to create questions together to pose after in the following step to the artist Herwig, because Herwig is going to join us in the second half of this event at around 2 p.m. And after providing us a short statement and another rather personal, subjective insight into his works, or let us call it rather a working, because some of the works are not finished yet. And we will have the chance to push him really to the test, and he will be ready for an open Q&A, an open question and answers that I hope you will be able to prepare in what is to come now. And once he left us, I hope I will be able to conclude our findings and his reactions to our questions shortly in a very brief conclusion. So Herwig, he is a rather new artist, I'd say. He has started to occupy the field, let us say, only in 2016, but since then he managed to achieve 19 exhibitions, which I feel it is quite something. And until today, or until then, since then, he also teaches at the Bauhaus University in Weimar, which is a very classical German place, but a very renowned and important university in the field of art and also architecture. And he also teaches at the University of York in England. And his works, but interestingly, not precisely the works that we are going to deal with today, because they are pretty new, but former projects of him were featured in such magazines and media as The Guardian, the GEO, the Vanguardist magazine El País in Spain, and also Kunstung, which is might not be the most renowned medium where he has been featured, but a crucial one for the evolution of the present event, which is why I am focusing on this year as well. So much to briefly introducing Scherabon. This guy is going to have a solo exhibition in July 2021, so this year in a few weeks, in a chapel in the south of Berlin. Actually, it is called Kiezkapelle, and you can see, I put you some photos here on the slide so that you can see a bit the surroundings and the architecture of this chapel. So it has been a chapel, and it is upheld as a chapel, but not really so much in its functioning, because it has already a sort of tradition of being used in a more culturally open way. So a lot of exhibitions are placed in there, and a lot of some theater pieces have been shown in there. So it is already used as something else than a normal chapel, but it upholds and it retains this character. Also, because of the cemetery in which it is basically situated, that you can see here in the lower picture, which I think is a pretty interesting locus or location for an exhibition, but somehow I feel it not only suits to some extent the artworks that we're going to see, but also obviously the city of Berlin with its sometimes peculiar pieces of culture and attitudes that it provokes. So you're certainly asking yourself now, so what will be exhibited? The thing is, Herwig traveled to Manaus in Brazil in 2019 in order to witness the annual burnings of the Amazon rainforest that was provoked and also announced by the government, but that somehow happened to get out of the control of the burners, let us say. And yeah, I think Herwig will also explain us more the in-depth happening and procedure of what he witnessed when he was there. But yeah, he flew there, he went there in order to film the jungle and to create CGI, so computer generated images, photos and animations of plants and landscapes. And one of these you can already see in the slide that I'm putting you right now. So for precisely this exhibition at the in the chapel in Berlin, there I will in the catalog of the exhibition there will be 6 texts involved. 3 will be written by the curators of this exhibition, and 3 by other academics therein, even though Felipe Duque, whom I'm putting here on this slide, will be one of the academics, yet he's also the main curator of this exhibition. So yeah, but this is basically the main idea how this should going to be structured. And of these 3 academics, Felipe is one. He's also the editor-in-chief of Entkunstung, the journal that I showed you before. And yeah, Felipe is a common friend of Herwig and mine. So this is how the entire event today was enabled, sort of in the form that it will now take. And the second academic will be Alexander Schindler, who is associated to the Vienna University of Technology. Yeah, and the third contribution is supposed to be created and submitted by me, who is intended to cover sort of the philosophical and especially the speculative theoretical section. So yeah, right now I would really like, and we are pretty well in the time, I would really like us to confront these artworks together, which certainly are not the easiest and softest artworks that I've come across, at least. But I am trying to be restrictive here with the inputs, the textual inputs or the inputs from the outside that I will give to you, because I would really like you to get active yourself and to confront them without being tunneled or polarized in any way by me beforehand. Yeah, so this is really the time when I would already like to open up the stage to all of you, and take notes and think with me together. And basically there will be 4 artworks that I'm going to show you now, yet the first and the last, they are a bit more complex, even though the elements are intended to create one, not image, but work or piece together. So maybe this is important for us all to keep in mind. Okay, so I'm going to show you now the first artwork, which is called The Earth Will Spin, Yet We Won't Be Here. And it is an animated artwork, so I'm going to show you the video with the sound. Yes. So this will be the first artwork, and you hear me, right? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
Okay. Yeah. So I am ready for your thoughts, I'd say. I prepared some incentives maybe for thinking, but in case someone of you already has an impression she or he would like to share with us, or in case somebody even already got a question to me, or to that she thinks that could eventually be posed to the artist once he joins us in a bit, then I would be ready to take these already. I mean, yeah, okay. I can see Adrian has put up his hand.
Yes, thank you. I took this chance to or to say some words about, but I saw already that you took my first impression I had when I saw artworks from Herwig. It was teratological, so this slow transformation movements that are not so much mesmerizing as the beauty at his website, on his website, but this is teratological, so it scares me. It's somehow something that is behind my ability to discern, to understand, to work with. So this is something beyond my capacities, and that's what I call teratological. So that was my first impression, and without having this sound, so quite impressive also by this disturbing again sound settings of this piece. I'm sorry if I'm a bit messy about that.
Yes, I think this is this concept of teratology that you mentioned. I felt that it is pretty suitable, or it could be suited to Herwig's work, which is why I also added it as a sort of subtitle to this presentation, without, however, intending to foreclose any other approaches to his art. But what I also found interesting this morning is that when we made the technical rehearsal, the artist himself, he was scared that his artworks that are intended to be displaced in a sort of augmented or virtual reality, and that they would appear dull to us or too flat to us, as we only have the chance in the given settings to access these in a sort of normal manner. So we are only sitting in front of our computers and watching this flat screen, and on which something is moving. It is pretty, two-dimensional and not three-dimensional, obviously. Yet I feel that this fear of the artist himself is not at all. It doesn't have any ground. I feel that it is already thought-provoking enough. His works, and what he is depicting, and how he is depicting, and why he is depicting what he is depicting, and if we can even speak of a what, because obviously these artworks, they are becoming, I'd say, they are pretty morphing. They do not stand still. It is an animation, and this animation tells us a story. It is not really showing us a being, even though I feel that the fact that these artworks in the end of these video sequences, they are sort of morphing back to their initial position or initial shape. You could say he wants us to start wondering, did I just see that, or did I invent it myself? Did I have an illusion, or is this reality? And this is also one aspect that I personally enjoy very much about the artworks that we're discussing right now. Is there another somebody else who, Jana? I cannot hear you. Hello? I just saw that Jana has raised.
Yeah. She needs to reconnect.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so maybe in the meantime.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, okay. Sorry for that, because we have technologically specific situation here. So I hope you can hear me. Adrian, try to nod with your head if you hear me.
Yes.
Yeah, great. It's cool to see you nodding. Okay. Thank you very much for this presentation, and I would like to offer my impression.
Yeah.
And what strikes me mostly is totally significant materiality of the images which we can see. And they are even more material because they seems like organic. And for me to watch the process of this growth also reminds me a process of growth of a disaster, or growth of something which is unhealthy. And also my really like this is how can I this is improvisation, but I think these images are ambivalent. On the one hand, they show us growth of something organic, and on the other hand, they show us disaster or destruction of these material. So my question would be if the author, or if Herwig feels that these images are more representation of something which is disastrous, or if it is something which represents natural organic growth. I hope I was understandable. Yeah, this is my impression.
Yeah, interesting. Oops, now I hear myself. Interesting, Jana. Interesting question or impression that you're sharing with us. I also had this play of a dualism in mind when I was watching it also for the first time. This precise artwork, because I guess you're also pointing to the fume or the smoke that at the first sight appears on the very right corner of this movie, and eventually I somehow was struck by the fact how he seems to unite this grow, as you called it, and the destructive, and that it all sort of enmeshes in these artworks and sort of even loses its usual connotation and its usual meaning. But this could be an interesting first question to Herwig, and I would be very happy if you'd take the chance to confront him there with directly as soon as he is joining us, which is already in 15 minutes. One quote that I took from Herwig's Instagram, I feel it is, he did not comment it in connection to this precise artwork, but I feel that it combines well therewith, and I would like to share this with you. He writes, or he wrote, "They are frozen images of small objects in a vast space captured in a short moment of eternity." And I'm just seeing here, this one was not from the Instagram, but from his website itself. But nevertheless, I feel that the fact that these ordinary concepts like destruction and growth, that they are losing sort of their context, is also to a high extent caused by the fact that all these objects, or I'm not sure if object is really the right name, at least not if we understand it in a conventional passive manner, but if all these existences, let's say, they are always depicted in front of a black background. And yeah, I personally, for instance, would be rather curious in seeing what he will state regarding this aspect of his works. But I found a quote that I would like to share with you also, which stems from Graham Harman's Prince of Networks, in which he basically defines the concept of the object, which in this sentence is this tantamount to the thing. And he writes, "Things exist not in relation, but in a strange sort of vacuum from which they only ever partly emerge in relation." So in this context, we could say, but I am certainly open to your opinions regarding that, or to other approaches there too, but I think we could say that Herwig maybe is trying to visualize this vacuum in a very strong and haunting way. And what this vacuum also, the power of the agency of this vacuum, we could also say is the fact that it allows these existences to only ever show themselves partially. So they never plainly emerge. They never are only there. We do not see them entirely, because according to Harman, this is not how things exist. This this would at least be a reading that I would like to suggest in this regard. And there's another quote of Scherabon himself, also from his website, that I feel is fitting to precisely this artwork. Even only the leftist of this these three existences that we have just seen morphing, because in my impression, this one is the most mushroomish. So it's coming closest to what I'd personally call a mushroom. And he writes, "The mushroom is a mushroom, and at the same time it is global warming and black rain in Sao Paulo." So to this black rain, I have to put this, I feel I have to put this a bit in context. Sorry. And he one of the results, or one of the effects of this annual burnings, of this arsons, that Herwig was witnessing in Manaus was the fact that the black rain was falling in Sao Paulo. So he's speaking here really about all these effects and agencies that a plainly looking object such as a simple mushroom in our eyes can have or is having. Yeah, and here too, and this is also coming from the field of speculative philosophy. I would like to suggest another quote, namely one from Didier Debes, who writes, with regard to the question, what is matter in modern experience, I would offer the response, a localizable point. And I feel that if we understand Herwig really not as a modern, but as a postmodern artist, then we could say that he is, by means of his art, questioning precisely this modern definition of matter as a basic agent, or maybe the most basic agent in our world. Even though the concept of world is questioned in this field. But let us go on to the second artwork. It is very long. It is also a video and animated movie, and I'm trying to really show you only some part of it. Oops. Oh no. What happened? Okay. Oops. Sorry. Now on the top you can see how it the nature is starting to curl up, to wrinkle, to wave and waver. This is how it is what it is morphing into, or at least parts of it. All right. So this will be the second artwork. I hope you saw it, because I did not see you anymore.
Yeah, we saw a part of it, so go on.
Good. So this artwork is evidently 8 minutes long, and I feel it would take too much of our time right now to show you the entire movie. But what I can say, and I watched it thrice, is the fact that even though it is called an airplane cutting the Amazon night sky, at least I could not witness an airplane in this artwork, and this already makes it pretty interesting. And so what would be your, just an open question, what would be your impression? What do you feel when you see this artwork? Yes. I can see Nicola.
Yeah, for me, it was the kind of a feeling you get when you stare at something too long, and just the thing starts to morph in front of your eyes because your mind is playing with you, and then you just clip your eyes and everything is back how it was. So this was the exact impression I had when watching this.
Yeah, very nice. So then it would be just something that is happening in the mind of the viewer and not a reality.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And what would you feel? What kind of implication would this have for the overall concept of the Amazon rainforest burnings and of the nature that he is showing on us in this artwork? Would this then also be just an illusion or something man-made?
Well, my connection made was that when we when we consider this hard questions, for example, about our nature and what is happening to it, sometimes we are just so overcrowded by information and by people showing us things that we actually cannot see them anymore. So maybe that's my connection, that when you are looking at something for too long from many sources, maybe then you stop being sensitive towards it because it starts to just disappearing right in front of your eyes.
Yeah, interesting thought. Would you be ready to post this also to the artist who's joining us in a bit?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so now we got already 2 questions. Cool. Yeah, so the third artwork of is also a movie, but I do not have the movie myself. The artist himself does obviously have the movie and will already show it to you. So I'm sort of jumping over it. One quote that I would also like to share with you from his website, and that I feel could be inciting for the discussion that is yet to come, is that he writes, "As we leave all sane definitions of space and time, we can see the agency which is inherent in all objects." This is just intended to be another fodder for your thoughts. And also he writes, which I feel is pretty interesting and goes into that direction that Nicola just opened up, namely, and this is from his Instagram, on the basis of everything, there is an understanding of oneness between us and nature and life and darkness. And I feel this could be an interesting subsumption of both question Jana's and Nicola's that we just posed. Because Jana spoke about growth and destruction, and life and darkness could be seen as synonyms in some sense. And this topic of nature, and if this term of nature itself is really still relevant or if it is outdated, could also be seen as taken up in Scherabon's work. But I will now directly jump into the third artwork and show you this one as well, because the time is flying. So here comes the fourth artwork, actually the third we skipped, and this artwork consists of it will eventually in the exhibition will consist of 4 pieces, but one of them is not ready yet. It does not have a sound yet, so I'm just having access today to 3 of them, and this is the first one. And the entire artwork is called "Nature is Not a Sunset in Bali," which I feel is already a very elucidating title. So here it comes. Oh. Yeah, I'm stopping it now. It goes on, but I feel that you could get the gist of what this artwork is about. And does anybody of you have a thought about it or an impression he or she would like to share? How does it look for you? What could it be? Why to depict something like that? I personally find pretty interesting the role of light, because already also in this screenshot that you're seeing right now on the presentation, you can see that it is sort of scrolling over the existence or the object, and yeah, I was wondering why the slides. What could it be? Is it a flashlight, or is it a laboratory light, or is it the first sunbeam after this entire continuing darkness that yeah, is spreading through Herwig's work? And I feel this could be also an interesting topic to pick up when we are meeting Scherabon or Herwig Scherabon in a bit. And yeah, with this artwork, I am personally also wondering if it is really the object itself that moves, or if it is only the camera that moves. And I feel this interplay between camera movement and object movement pretty fascinating here. And I can see a question from Livia.
Hello. For me, it seems like some creature from the depth of the sea, and something slimy, but it's alive, and it's interesting to watch it moving in the water, for example.
Yeah. So would this be able to become a question, do you feel, or is it about the aliveness of existences, and the question, what is a life and how to define a life? What are the borders of a life? Do you feel this is what the artist is trying to apply?
Maybe when I compare it with the name that nature is not the sunset in a valley.
Yeah.
It might be that when to some people the nature is only going to the beach and see only things from which they could benefit and which they find beautiful and so on, but nature is also a little bit scary, a little bit slimy, and has many more sides.
Yeah, right.
Which we should want to explore.
Yeah, I feel this could really be an interesting aspect that certainly is inherent in Herwig's work. I mean, we are now circulating around this. I feel we're circulating around this issue of an ontology of nature. So, what is nature? And when Herwig names his artwork, nature is not ... then this is already a pretty forward statement, I feel. But I see 4 more hands up. I think Katarina was the first.
Yes, thank you. So I just wanted to share that it also reminds me of some, at first, octopus or some underwater creature, but then as you were talking about lightning and movement, and then reminded me of some kind of tree, or reminded me of the second video a little bit. And I see also some connections to the first video, because my keyword will be maybe organic movement, or the first video also reminded me of some never-ending cycle.
Oh yeah, okay. Cycle. Yeah, interesting. Jana, no, I think Jana and Nicola are all both also. Jana, would you like to start? If not, then maybe Nicola.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so thank you for the words. Sorry, Nicola, for being first. It would never happen again. And I have just tiny note, which is connected with the title of the artwork. What is interesting is this sentence that nature is not sunset in Bali. Yeah. This is like on the contrary with the, or in the contrast with the visibility or visuality of these pictures, which can be described as something organic, which grows and which moves through the darkness or through the black space. And what came to my mind is that nature is simply not about the gaze or just about the expectation. It is not something which is visible, and the beauty of the nature is not actually something which is totally visible and which is supposed to be admired by the eye. But the real beauty of the nature is something which is very invisible, something which is in the darkness, and something which is totally material, and which is how can I say that? Which transforms, in the silence and in the darkness. Thank you for.
Yes, very interesting, very nice. I always see myself, Jana. Nicola, maybe you could keep your question or your comment to the open Q&A itself. I can see, or I saw that the artist already joined us, but nonetheless, I would briefly like to take the chance to show you at least one more artwork of Herwig, which for me personally is pretty striking. And you could note down your comments and questions and keep them to the store them for the discussion itself. So this is the last one that I'm going to give you as an input. Yeah, for me, this is, I guess, the most striking artwork, but I am sure we will deal with it also in the discussion. I stopped it because of time reasons, and I am very sorry. Yet I also think that the promised break we will not be able to keep up because, yeah, the artist is already here with us. So I would like to welcome Herwig Scherabon, whom I cannot really see. Yeah, here he is.
Hello, hello everybody.
Nice to have you here. I already presented you to the students, and we started discussing your some of your artworks. However, we did not manage to go through all of them. But as you know, Arson, your third artwork, I do not own the movie, so this will be up to you to to confront the students present with. And as announced, the structure of the second part of this lecture is going to be that first Herwig is so kind as to provide us a short statement or insight into his work and working by himself, and then he will we will have the chance to confront him with our questions, remarks, comments, or just any input that we are ready to give to him. So Herwig, really cool that you are here with us and that you are ready to engage with us. And if you like, you could take the word now.
Thank you, Swantje, and also big thanks for inviting me and for your interest in my work. Just quickly, if everybody wants and needs a break now, I can also come back in like 5 minutes if that is helpful.
No, I think that it's not needed. Just I would like to ask you, Swantje, to stop presenting. Perfect. Thank you.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, cool. Then we can go ahead. And I think the video also, it didn't have a sound, so the sound transmission didn't work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think, so that's, I guess, a bit of a problem for us all to presenting in this way, that when you make videos with sound, there's often transmission problems. So you get like just a very low-key glimpse of what I'm trying to do here with my work. But anyways, I'll just continue for now showing some of my works, and I'll share my desktop, I guess. So can everybody see this?
Yes, we do.
We see the entire desktop. Yes.
You know what? Let's try if I go into presenting mode. Maybe that works now.
Yeah, looks good.
That's good. All right, perfect. Right. I don't know what you mentioned already about myself, but I'll just quickly go over it. I'm a media artist from Austria, and I mostly work with 3D animation, with sound art, light installations, and recently also with virtual reality and augmented reality. And the projects that I would like to discuss with all of you are all from a research trip to the Amazon that I did in 2019. And they're going to be shown in an exhibition in July in Berlin. But I'll be talking about it later a bit. So the material for my works are usually 3D scans, audio recordings, and videos, and that's what I gathered in the Amazon rainforest. So yeah, I'll just outline a few, like a tiny selection of what I have. The artwork that you see here, for instance, is based on 3D scans of aerial roots, which are these kind of roots. You might have seen that in the Amazon rainforest. They grow out of the ground as roots and then start to form the actual tree. And I think that is a very vivid and visible hint to what's happening beneath the so-called wood wide web, they call it, this whole entanglement of a whole forest. This work is going to be a large-scale print, in the exhibition. Yeah, these are just examples of like the very raw 3D scans that I would take. The technique I'm using, just quickly, is called photogrammetry. So you take a bunch of photos of an object, and then later you process them in a 3D software and you get them as three-dimensional objects on screen in digital space. What I created out of these small scans is, in this case, it's a triptych. That means a 3-channel installation on 3 screens. And the work is called The Earth Will Spin, Yet We Won't Be Here. I don't know if you managed to look at the whole video with sound, but I guess not. But anyways, we'll just skip over it. The idea of this artwork is to show the transformative quality of nature from life to death and again to life. The objects transform into crude oil and then into smoke and then back again into their original form. And the idea is to show organic matter like plants as crude oil in which they will transform anyways at some point or another. So I think it's very interesting aspect to look at this inherent transcendence within objects. So just like as a quick excursus, I think it for me is always very inspiring to work with the notion of the sublime, like the sublimity of space. Like when you look at a vast landscape and you put yourself in that, and your human scale gets kind of disintegrated in that. You're kind of losing touch to your own scale, and by that you recognize the vastness of space, and you can get like a glimpse into the universe and also understand how small you are. So I previously did artworks concerning space and landscapes, which is not relevant for this piece, but the reason I'm mentioning it is you can do the same thing with a time scale. You can compress the time scale of a process into a very small time. And I think it gives you the same sort of glimpse into the deep future of something to become. Yeah, this piece has already been shown quite a lot in galleries. In this case, that's a gallery in Tokyo that was showing the work. Most of the other artworks in the exhibition in Berlin will have their first appearance, actually. Yeah, the next piece I wanted to talk about is called An Airplane Cutting the Amazon Night Sky. Again, I don't know if you've seen the video. I guess we can also do it like that. If the transmission is very difficult for everybody, I could later on share maybe Vimeo links for people that have an interest in watching the full experience with sound, so you can watch them on Vimeo. This artwork is based on an audio recording that I made in the jungle at night. And while coming back to my cottage there and listening to the recording, which was like a few hours long, I found beneath all these sounds of howling monkeys and, you know, this like really screaming noise of the jungle, I found that airplane cutting through or like flying over the rainforest. And I found this a very breathtaking moment, an audible moment of human and non-human encounter. So what I did is I sort of tried to create a visual link between the distortion that the airplane brings into the sound in the sound bit of the artwork, and the distortion correlates with the distortion of the forest that you see. And as like most, or actually all my works, it's very contemplative. It's meant to be in a gallery, hung on a big screen or a projection, with like very slow motions, very slow movements going on. Yeah, and also I wanted to give you an example of my workflow in general, because I'm doing a lot of field work and being out in nature. An artist friend of mine filmed this with his drone without me knowing about it. So what I'm trying to do there is I'm trying to 3D scan the whole canopy of the forest near around me. Again, with this technique of photogrammetry, just like taking a bunch of photos of the same spot. And because I didn't have a drone and I didn't know how to operate my friend's drone, I had to actually climb that really, really tall tower and take my pictures there. But despite the low-key technology, I was super happy with the result, which in this case is already the 3D point cloud that you see in 3D space that I can later use for animations or virtual reality. And I found the result surprisingly good. So this is a recording directly from the virtual reality experience that I created out of it. So I made an 8-minute immersive VR experience where one finds themselves within the forest, and the forest starts to disintegrate according to the audio. I did this artwork in reaction to the land grabbing burnings that are annually happening in the Amazon. Especially since Bolsonaro took office, there's been really outrageous amounts of land that just have been burnt down for soy plantages and other crops. I guess the title also makes this very clear. It's a very clear statement that this is arson. And also these burnings were particularly intense in 2019. I don't know if everybody remembers, but there was like a big media call for this to stop. Yeah, and the idea here is to kind of transcend the experience of being burned to ashes and make it very accessible in a physical way. So I will quickly show you the like a teaser of this experience, so you can get a feel for what this actually looks like. But you have to be aware that this is then it's basically a flat representation of something that is very immersive when you're in the virtual experience and you move your head around it. Can you all see this black screen here, like the video? Okay, good. So I will see if it plays with sound. Please let me know. Do you hear sound? No, okay, but I know why. So I'll quickly change into another sharing mode. Just give me a second, figuring out the technicality here. Can you hear it now? Is there sound audible?
Not for the moment, I'm sorry.
Not for the moment, okay. Yeah, that is very strange. Oh, no, no way. Okay. I'm sharing this with computer audio. And it's good? Okay.
I'm sorry, I make this sound because we heard the sound, but we didn't see the image. So from the beginning, there was this forest and this immersion in, but then we saw just the white square. Okay, so just to let me know.
Well then, fuck it, I guess. You saw the image at some point. You saw this. You heard the sound at some point.
It is crazy how difficult how impeding these media can be.
Yeah, but honestly, let's do it like that. I'll share some of that on my Vimeo, so people can look at it after, because I think that's otherwise a bit dissatisfying.
Yeah,
you know.
Your Vimeo account is actually pretty happening already. So
yeah, exactly. So it's better to look at it like this, but. In general, what you would have been seeing is what I was just describing, that this sort of point cloud forest is disintegrating according to this like very massive sound wall. And it's a very physical experience. So my friend Philippe Duke was checking it out and he felt genuinely sick after it. And that's kind of intentional also to give like this very strong physical experience. So again, share my presentation real quick. You can see that now?
Yes.
Good. Okay. Yeah, that was already it, actually. But there are a bunch of other artworks that I haven't been discussing here. But I'd really like to extend my invitation to all of you to join me in Berlin at the end of July. If you can make it, I'd be super happy. And the image in the back is another artwork. It's a geographical map of Brazil. On the left-hand side would be the Amazon rainforest, and on the right-hand side, it goes down until Sao Paulo. It's flipped because of I wanted to fit it in the screen, so it would be upside down then, or like 90 degree rotated. And the idea again is something of like non-locality, shown through this swoosh going through the artwork. And it's a reference to the title Black Rain over Sao Paulo, which relates again to the non-locality of big environmental events, or let's say catastrophes. Yeah, now I'd be super happy to discuss whatever comes up to your minds, and really like to hear your own input to that. So I'm just stopping my presentation here.
Yeah, cool. Thank you very much for this very highlighting and interesting, different and more personal description of your work. It was certainly totally different from what I did, so please do not worry about being repetitive as you did before.
Oh yeah, good.
And yeah, I would be really happy if we could just open the stage and take questions from all of you. And yeah, if you take the chance to ask Herwig what is on your mind and what we discussed beforehand, and what you would like to know also. You can just pose an open question, like a certain aspect of his work that you feel has not been understood or explained.
Yeah, the more awkward, the better. Please do.
So, is there somebody who wants to give it a start? Okay. Yeah, then maybe I can take the chance and ask your first question. What I found pretty interesting in your work is that at least these works in which you exhibit or in which you present as one, I like to call it personally an existence, because I feel that the term object doesn't fit perfectly to what you're showing as an existence. It comes from Latin ex sistere, so to move out of a stand. And I feel this is really what, for instance, the first artwork, you call it, I think you call it a triptych.
Yeah.
And I was mostly intrigued somehow with the middle one, which I feel was a sort of a blackberry with tentacles that melted in the non-existent sun, like these jelly beers when you leave them in the car in summer.
Yeah. Or
And
licorice.
yeah, I feel that you present us all these things in entire blackness. So there's no surrounding, there's
Yeah.
no nature in the sense, or no environment in this surrounding, embedding connotation. And I always thought this would be a very precise artistic intention of yours, but now in your presentation you said something about your method of photogrammetry, if I'm not mistaken, and that it would eventually just give you these photos in, as you called it, in digital space. And now I started to wonder, this black space, might it be just that you did not really bother about it, but it was just what this method brought out for you? Or is this really, does it have an intended message behind it?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and I've put a lot of thought in it. Actually, it's very intentional, because for me the blackness of the screen is like the whiteness of the canvas. So I try to be very honest about these things and try not to create like basically ornaments in the background to emphasize a certain aesthetic. So for me, this gives a lot of rawness to the videos. Yeah, and also, I mean, you're right, maybe object is never a good term for this, and I like the description of an existence. Also, concerning that, animation is an interesting word. It's animating, it brings something to life, which again, like really relates to notions of agency, etc. So yeah, existence is a good word, but there's still a sort of, for me, I always distinguish between environment and object. That's why I'm using the word object a lot, because it's something that whether you're as a viewer, you're within it, or you're enclosed from it and you're looking at it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it sounds
Yeah.
good. Yeah. What I also felt regarding this black surrounding, this black nature, then or black environment, is that somehow this precise blackness provides these objects, if you like, the agency to also hide itself partially within this blackness. So I feel that we just also, I had this impression on one of the students, I think it was Katarina, she also said that the first part of your nature is not a sunset in Bali, that it would look a bit like an octopus.
Yeah.
This is one association that you could have. I know this is not what you're intending to do, but somehow this is how you're trying to approach these rather abstract works verbally. And I really like how this figure is. I'm not sure if it moves or if it is only the camera that moves. This would be also an interesting aspect we could discuss, but that it is never plainly showing itself, but it is always emerging from and also retreating, recalcitrating, withdrawing from our side. And I feel that it is precisely this honest and raw background that enables it to do so.
Yeah, I mean, the octopus reference is not bad at all, and it's actually intentional. I mean, the scan that I was using for this is, again, was it an aerial root or like the stump of a palm? I don't even remember. But also the texture on it looks like flesh. So I think it's a very strong capacity that CGI images have, that you can play with putting a material that is entirely different on an object with another context, and that also creates a sort of liveliness. And yes, the background has to do with like this kind of idea of emergence. They should, like all of these from that series, should all look a bit scary intentionally, like as if they would be charging at you. And then in the exhibition context, I want them to be, we decided on screens now. We initially wanted them to be projections, but we now are in this chapel with a lot of light, you know, and it has these colorful windows that are amazing. So we decided not to blacken them out and stay with the light and then have everything on screens. But still, those from that series, they're intended to be like spirits from the forest, like guards that kind of like charge at you and kind of like pose questions, like yeah, like animated beings.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Interesting insight also regarding the exhibition. I was wondering how you deal with this chapel. I've never been inside of it, but I was wondering how dark it already is and how much darker you would like it to be. But
yeah, I would always like everything as dark to be as possible. That's just my default setting, I guess. But when we were there checking out the space, we couldn't ignore this vivid space that is very interesting. So we're now arranging it in a very different way.
Cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I see that Adrian raised his hand.
Yes, I did. Thank you. What was mentioned before before you came was about the triptych. There was unhealthy mentioned, something which looks to be unhealthy, something that looks to me to be teratological, so like really scaring me.
Yeah.
But I also like this connection from one of your, I don't know, this it was Instagram chat or something like that, where we saw word oneness.
Oneness, yeah.
Oneness, which I like a lot because it has close connection to the sublimity you mentioned before. Now I'm interested in what or how you can use this virtual environment in a limited space, because the project vastness in a small chapel, let's say that it's quite interesting. But I see this using this immersion mode or virtual reality. This is something which is not so strictly bounded with 3D reality we live in. So
no, yeah.
What do you think about these notions, like oneness, unhealthy something, teratological?
Yeah, I feel you, and I feel that there are actually a lot of sub-questions in what you're asking. So if I try to scrutinize that, the discomfort and the feeling of looking at something pathological has to do with that. A lot of my artworks, or actually most of them, are dealing with anxiety and are very driven by the idea of coming to terms with extinction as a species, and the sublimity of it is, the sublime in general is also a feeling that you get that is right on the border between anxiety and awe. And I think that might answer that part of the question. And then when it comes to the question of showing that in digital space where there's actually no vastness at all, for me, it's always, I mean, using digital techniques and the screen in general is not just a conscious decision. It also comes from just me using that tool and me having that language available. But I think there is also a big potential, for instance, in virtual reality, of bringing very vast spaces very close to your emotional senses by being in a digital environment. And it's very challenging, of course, to replicate the vastness of a mountain range in digital reality. And it is never as satisfying as just going out for an actual hike. You know, I really recognize that. Yeah. I hope that answers it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, interesting. Somebody else would like to ask something. We already collected several questions before you came. I mean, I can rephrase them, but I would be very happy if the people who post them initially would take the chance and repost them to you directly. Yeah, Nicola?
Okay, I have a new question.
Also fine.
Yeah, that just has popped out, while you were talking. I wanted to also ask about this first artwork of yours. You were saying that you were basically trying to show us the life and death and how this morphing into each other, and it's a circle, actually. And I was thinking whether you wanted to only apply that to nature or also apply it to us as humans. I know that we are part of nature, but if that was your intention, that we just look at this artwork and then think, okay, I'm going to die one day, but it's not the end,
Yes, absolutely. I definitely include us within nature, and I think just a very quick excursus to like our terminology of nature. I think it's mostly in an everyday use. It's mostly driven by a very romanticist idea that there is something, and then out there is nature, which is a very problematic view. Because it puts us outside the scope of nature. And yeah, the impermanence aspect of the circle of life concerns us all. And I, for my part, I meditate a lot, where impermanence is playing a big role, where actually a lot of people would even say meditating is practicing for death. And that artwork that I created and a lot of others have this a bit in it, so that the coming to terms with death, with collapse, with extinction, I think we as a species have to make a lot of effort actually in times like this to coming to terms with that, to acquire a healthy approach towards death and collapse. I think there's a lot of work to be done. I hope that answers it.
Yeah, very interesting. I really like the way you said. I definitely include in us in what I call nature. Also, prior to meeting you today, I was playing around with the concept of nature, because I mean, you name one of your artworks. Nature is not dot. So this is a pretty strong statement. And obviously, the most straightforward question would be, so what is nature? And yeah, I really like how you replied on that question, and thank you, Nicola, for posing it. And we got another one by Livia.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, you mentioned meditating and so on, and I do do this too. And my last experience with nature was when I was walking, and then I saw a hill, and I wanted to know what is behind it. Okay, and yeah. I was walking towards it, and there was always a stranger and more vivid feeling, like the nature was telling me, okay, come up to that hill and I will show you something. And once I got there, it was like before me appeared hills I've never seen, the scene I never seen before, and I started to cry and to laugh. I felt like I was so shocked that I felt like I always trying to feel like that nature is extension of myself, and it was so strong, that feeling in that vastness of that nature, that it suddenly I started to feel like I'm disappearing, and when it went behind my comfortable zone, I had to stop it, because I was afraid that I will disappear. And I think I felt a little bit like on that hill with your artworks. And I also I think it was the last artwork, like that branch covered, it looked like branch covered with moss, and while it was moving, it seemed like a creature, like it was talking with us. And for example, your nature, I think it was an airplane cutting the arson sky. I felt like when I was watching it, and I for a while I saw the nature, but then I started to see the universe in that, like the sky with stars. It was some like when leaves were bending, and it looked a little bit like that. So it was nice, and with that experience of the forest disintegrating, I don't know. I'm used to put my ego into under the stress, and to also to disintegrate. And maybe that's why I felt it pleasing. That sound. I wasn't afraid. It was really relaxing for me. So that was surprising. That's all from me.
Well, thank you for that. And that sounds like a very beautiful and relatable experience. So there's also a lot in it. Also, again, relating a bit to what Adrian mentioned about the feeling of oneness when you're exposed to a vast space. And also the anxiety you get when your ego disappears. So also, again, in meditation, if you practice a certain way, you're very concerned with the non-self, with finding ways of existing, or like layering the ego out until you're not yourself anymore. And for some people that is a bit anxiety inducing, but also very fruitful experience, I think. Yeah, thanks for that. Very cool.
Yeah, thank you, Livia. This was a really interesting story you told us about that hill, and I like how you focused on how nature would call you to go up, and like following the call of nature, so that you give nature this agency. I really enjoyed that, because I felt it was pretty post-humanist, if you like.
Yeah, looking at nature as an extension of yourself is also a very beautiful way to look at it, I think.
Yeah, I also noted this one down. I really like this. Yeah. And Herwig, you mentioned that you are meditating a lot, and I found this also pretty interesting as a contextualization of your art in a personal manner, because when I was looking at your, when I was immersing into your artworks with the sound, which is something
which is a lot better.
Did not work all the time today. I found that I also connected it to meditating and to the practice of yoga, and all these practices that are pretty modern, postmodern, modern in postmodernity or whatever. Then in these practices, usually the sounds, the ambiental music that you are confronted with, I feel it always gives you a very serene experience of nature, as if nature would be the place where everything always flows smoothly, and there are no conflicts and no problems, and this is the place where you can recharge yourself. And for me, sometimes these sounds, they were like this meditation ambiental music monsterized. And
yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
And this is just that I found interesting that usually it is a strategy to cope with the hectic, urban, man-made everyday, this immersion in nature. But your immersion in nature, the one you provide us with, is not always a source of relaxation, but more confrontation of a disturbant becoming, I'd say.
Yeah. It always is, or it has been until now. I'm actually right now in a bit of a transformative phase where I'm leaving out a lot of the anxiety-inducing sounds, rather to like full-on just field recordings of nature and more like harmonics. But most of the time in the last 3 years, I guess, I was intentionally putting effort into making it like very, a bit fear-inducing and monstrous, as you said, which I like that word. Also because I think, we tend to have this very romanticized idea about nature that is also, again, the title, Nature is Not a Sunset, in Bali is directly referring to that we think of it as something that is just this encased, beautiful scenery, like a landscape painting from Monet or something. But in fact, it's in many ways, nature is something that is out there to get us. It can kill you. I mean, I've had experiences during nature trips where I got lost or ran out of food, or I was in a forest where trees kept falling because of some winter pressure. So my first and a lot of experience in nature are actually very monstrous and anxiety-inducing. And I think it's also, again, something that I would like to really communicate with my artworks, that we get to terms with this fact that we are not idealizing it for our own purpose. Because if we do that, it has this very dangerous implication of kind of restoring nature for like some museum-like purposes, rather than engaging with it, rather than being entangled with it.
Yeah, pretty interesting. I'd say I would describe your art as the opposite of doing kitsch out of nature.
Yeah. Although I think, I mean, just personally, Monet, for instance, is a big inspiration for me. Not in the sense of of the beauty and the impressionistic aspect of it, but the abstraction of nature, and then like kind of transformed into something that is rather dark than pleasing.
Yeah, highly interesting. Cool. Somebody else would like to ask Herwig something? Would like to take the chance? We got some more minutes. Yeah, one issue that my colleague Jana put into a question before you joined us, Herwig, is that she spoke about again the first artwork that we looked at, the triptych. That she spoke about the dualism of growth and destruction, and I would be interested in your reaction to this. Are you interested in these in the opposites that you find in these controversial flows of power that you find as taking place, as manifesting themselves in nature, or are you more into, again, a one mass sort of approach?
I guess so. I have my ideals, and then I have my capacities. So I might always not succeed in what I want to tell. I'm more interested in oneness and flow, especially growing more and more in the last year. During the lockdown, I had a lot of more thoughts on that. That artwork definitely has a bit of a dichotomy baked in it, where like growth is against disintegration or destruction. But that also comes just a lot of times I do this because I like to make loops that endlessly loop for their contemplative qualities. And then when you do a loop, you always have to find state A and state B going back to state A. And that's a lot of times in a difficult way where you get your own dualism going without even wanting it. I guess that would answer it. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Cool. Yes, I guess we have come to a close of the session. If we would like to, at least if we would like to stay in the given time frame. And yeah, Herwig, thank you really very much for taking your time, for joining us, for presenting this interesting insight to us, and for standing our questions. I really like how it turned out in the end, and I also like the entire concept of bringing you as a Berlin-based Austrian artist who is in this very specific field with Entkunstung and Felipe and this all postmodern context, and bringing you to the University of Presov here in Slovakia. I have enjoyed the entire happening of this event really, really much. And yeah, I can just say I personally am going to be at your exhibition in July.
Thank you.
And I'm really looking forward to see your artworks and to meet you in a bodily present.
Yeah,
there.
me too. Yeah.
And it might happen that one of someone from the audience happens to be in Berlin for one of the other reasons. And yeah.
I would love to, welcome everybody. If you find time to be there, that would be amazing. And also from my side, big thanks for inviting me. That was a big pleasure, and thank you for the very interesting questions. I feel like we could all relate to a lot of things here and get a nice discussion going. And yeah, thank you, Swantje, for also. I'm looking forward to your contribution to the exhibition catalog. That will be interesting for me. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna leave now, I guess.
Yeah,
you continue.
We are gonna leave, and from the University of Presov and Faculty of Arts, I would like to thank you, both of you, and all who came to the audience to take part and to pose the questions. It was really interesting. Let's stay in touch if possible, because
yes, that would be nice.
That's wonderful. What this immersion experience could bring us to new way of seeing nature and unnature around us. Yeah. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Adrian. Thanks everybody. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day too.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you so much to all for coming for this final course of this class. So be fine, okay? See you soon in presence.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you, guys.
For contributing.
Thank you, Swantje.
Bye.
Bye. Jonas, smiješ.